Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated inside Iran. The main responsibility of avenging his blood now falls on the shoulder of the Iranians. The message that this security failure conveys to the global world, this on its own is, yes, a victory for Israel. It actually shows the expertise of Mossad.
Perpetuated by some within the IRGC. Do you think there is any credibility to those theories?
There are a lot of calculations going on into assessing the situation, preparing the different scenarios, and we have to look at, the things that will follow up, the developments of the situation. This time, Iran will actually make a new norm, and this is a very dangerous situation. The extent of that retaliation is something that is up to debate.
It's been hours since the death of Hamas boss Ismail Haniyeh has been confirmed now after Iran released its statement. Hamas also stated that its leader was martyred in Tehran. Now, I'm joined by Ehsan Safarnejad. He's an Iranian geopolitical analyst. Mr. Safarnejad, no images, no videos of the alleged so-called Israeli missile strike has surfaced yet. What do you think really happened?
Today morning at 2 a.m. Tehran times, we just heard the bad news that the leader of Hamas was unfortunately assassinated. As of right now, which we are talking about the whole incident and the event, which is roughly around 4:15 p.m. There is still no footage, as you correctly mentioned, of the incident. So we weren't really able to assess the damage done to the vicinity of the compound that Mr. Haniyeh was in, the kind of damage that was done to the building, the different people who were actually assassinated alongside him. The official narrative is that only one other person was assassinated alongside the Palestinian leader of the Hamas, the group Hamas. So as of right now, we actually don't have a lot of information on what has happened. Amongst the Iranians, if I was to talk about the emotions that are being expressed by the Iranian people, there are different reactions to this. Some people are really concerned about the message that this security failure conveys to the global world. So all around, it's a mixture of sadness, grief, sorrow, and even shock.
There is no visual confirmation of the missile strike, so to speak. Just one other person was killed. If there's a missile strike on a building, then there would be many people in the building who would also perhaps die alongside. There are these conspiracy theorists doing the round of this being perpetuated by some within the IRGC. Do you think there is any credibility to those theories?
Obviously, no, because this has forced the IRGC commanders to a very tight corner, I would say. Now, considering that Mr. Haniyeh, Mr. Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated inside Iran, the main responsibility of avenging his blood now falls on the shoulder of the Iranians, right? So, and there are a lot of calculations going on into assessing the situation, preparing the different scenarios for retaliation, the kind of target that they should pick in order to match the same level of basically manage in order to manage the escalation ladder. And there's also that constant worry that what if our response wouldn't match the response of the Israelis, and we would dishearten and discourage our main supporters and our voter base, right? So, when we, as I mentioned, when we delve deep into the emotions and the motivations of the IRGC generals, we see that there is very little motive or evidence that this was an inside job within Iran. So I think that we can safely rule out these conspiracy theories that there was an element within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps who was behind this. However, considering the fact that there is a name being thrown around that which compound Mr. Haniyeh has been assassinated in, I'm going to refrain from mentioning any names since I don't want to propagate any rumor or give any false information to your viewers. But it seems that this location was this location had a link to the IRGC. So obviously they have to now look within themselves and look for a security flaw in their protocols, in the way that they conduct their businesses, in the way that they protect the different leaders of the axis of resistance and protect them within the Iranian borders. This is something that can't be ignored or somehow brushed off, right? That there was a security breach within the security apparatus. But again, going back to the main question, whether there was an element within IRGC that was behind something like this, I think that we can safely rule that conspiracy theory out.
Mr. Haniyeh was a very, very public figure. He was a political leader of Hamas. He's traveled to various countries. He's fairly visible publicly. Why do you think Israel chose to hit him in Iran, of all places? Was there a message being sent?
There can be a message that would be sent by choosing a specific location for carrying out this assassination. Obviously, this shows that we can reach you. We have a long arm, and the extent of the sphere of our influence is actually bigger than what you think. So this can be the obvious message behind this. But I think that there is also another message that can be received by looking at the broader series of events that have been taking place inside the region. For example, we know that there was also a strike on a Lebanese commander of the group Hezbollah in Beirut. Right now, Hezbollah has confirmed that the commander was actually in that building. So far, I haven't seen any official statement by the Hezbollah that the honorable gentleman was actually martyred or not. Maybe he's in a safe house, or maybe he's being treated and they don't know the extent of his injuries. There was also an attack on an Iraqi commander of Hashda Shabi. So Israel targeting three different figures in three different countries, it actually shows the expertise of Mossad. I have always stated that Israeli intelligence, Mossad, is actually more powerful than the Israeli army. I mean, by their own standard. I'm not saying that the Israeli army is weak by any means, but if you consider the achievements that different fractions have been able to accomplish, most of the accomplishment of Zionist regime has been obtained by Mossad rather than IDF. It's arguable that it is the failure of the Israeli army that the Israeli intelligence has been forced to carry out such actions. For example, a couple of weeks back, there was this rumor circulating around social media that the Israelis have assassinated Mohammad al-Layth, who is the leader of the military wing of Hamas, Katab al-Qassam. But it turned out to be false. When you look at these different two figures, Ismail Haniyeh and Mr. Mohammad al-Layth, you see that one is mostly a political figure, right? So it has a the message that it conveys is that they have assassinated a political leader, not particularly a commander. The other one is actually a very smart person, a very intelligent commander that was able to basically design a very complicated operation on the October 7th, that whether you are pro or against that kind of behavior, you can't diminish and undermine what he was able to accomplish, right? So that failure, the failure in assassinating Mr. Mohammad al-Deif, resulted in Israel sort of, trying to compromise or win some sort of consolation prize by assassinating, well, the other best thing, right? Which was Mr. Haniyeh. In terms of the amount of effect that it actually has on the battlefield, we can say that it will be small. Obviously, I'm not saying that Mr. Haniyeh was playing a small role in helping the Palestinian resistance. Obviously, his efforts were actually very impressive in terms of going in different countries and making alliance with different countries. I'm not undermining that, but in terms of what happens on the ground and on the battlefield, I can safely say that there is no comparison between what the assassination of Mr. Mohammad al-Deif would entail with what the assassination of Mr. Haniyeh means to the axis of resistance and for the future of the situation that is taking place in Gaza.
You say that there is going to be a reaction. What is your assessment of that? What shape that reaction is going to take from Iran? Because clearly it's been humiliated. It has to act. What do you sense so far from the responses of the Iranian government, of the supreme leader, of the new president?
Well, I like to actually elaborate on my previous comments about the failure of the system. Obviously, I actually said that, but it is only if we look at the situation in isolation. There is this very famous problem in international relations and in game theory. It's called prisoner dilemma. I won't go into the detail of what it is. I'm sure that your audience are educated about that. But the thing about prisoner dilemma is that if you look at it in isolation, it's a very simple problem, right? There is not really that much to analysis, but it only makes sense for you to analyze the situation in a broader context only if you look at the series of events, namely by playing the prisoner dilemma, in thousands of iterations, which is what the experts in game theory, in international relations, these people, research and investigate the possibilities, the outcomes in thousands of, iterations. What happened in Iran, in of itself, was embarrassing, as you mentioned. But this can be something that would actually revitalize the Iranian stance in the struggle against the Zionist entity. I'll give you an example. So, for example, the Israeli attack on the Iranian embassy in Iranian consulate in Syria, which was adjacent to the Iranian embassy, was actually embarrassing, right? The Israelis, they took a win. But the aftermath of that, when we saw half a dozen countries, major countries, including Britain, France, United States, which on their own considered to be a superpower, had to rush into helping Israel in order to protect its airspace. And I'm not even going to mention, Jordan and all the Arab states that actually came and helped the Zionist entity. That was embarrassing. The fact that still to this day, there is no video of what happened in the intelligence base that was targeted by Iran in northeastern parts of the occupied Palestine. which people call Israel. The fact that there is still no video of that is very embarrassing. So again, going back to what I was saying, the point of playing these things in different iterations, in multiple iterations, this on its own is, yes, a victory for Israel. But we have to understand, and we have to look at the things that will follow up, the developments of the situation. If Iran comes out and responded the way that it responded on April 14th, in the operation A Truthful Promise, if Iran responds the same way, then the previous time, Iran established a new equation. It introduced a new premise into the scenario. But this time, Iran will actually make a new norm. And this is a very dangerous situation. I applauded Mossad in terms of their operational capabilities, not in terms of their moral. Obviously, I'm against what they do. But I have to also criticize them. I think that Mossad's capability are mostly within the realm of carrying out good operations in terms of their tactical aspects. In terms of the strategy, if this results in an attack on the occupied Palestine, and more specifically main cities like Tel Aviv, this would establish a new norm. People of Israel watching the Iranian missiles going to the heart of Israel, to Tel Aviv, or as its correct name, Jaffa. If the Iranian missiles are seen over the Jaffa sky, then it would be completely different thing. So it's I would say that the jury is still out there, as the saying goes. We have to wait and see how Iran responds. From the statements that we have heard so far, the statement of the Iranian leader, which is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. Your opinion might differ on the Iranian leader, but the fact that he goes through with his words is something that has been established when the British imperial nation actually seized an Iranian ship, and the Iranian leader threatened that it would retaliate by capturing a British ship, and it only took them like 24 to 48 hours, something along that period of time, for them to actually retaliate. The fact that he said that he's going to avenge the assassination of Major General Qasem Soleimani by launching missiles at the US airbase, which was something that hadn't been done after the World War II. This was something that was done. The fact that he said that the Zionist regime will receive a response from the Iranian side for carrying out an attack on the Iranian consulate in Syria, the fact that he has followed through with his words would make something very clear. And that's the fact that this is a man of his word, right? He is a man of his word, and he's going to follow through. Now, we know that the retaliation will take place. The extent of that retaliation is something that is up to debate. I think that based on the context and the connotations of the words that was used by the Iranian leader, he believes that the response should come from the Iranian border, right? So we're talking about Iranian missiles being launched from within the Iranian borders. Which places they're going to target, it's still up to debate. But I think that it will most likely be either Golan Heights or the occupied Palestine. So this is the projection of the things that are likely to happen in an Iranian response.
Clearly, things are just getting from bad to worse, and the situation in the Middle East is just flaring up even more.
I want to make something clear. He didn't say that the retaliation comes from within the Iranian borders. I said that based on the language that he used, I think that it is most likely that the retaliation comes from the Iranian soil, because he actually said he was our guest and we reckon that it is our duty in order to avenge him. So based on what he said, the fact that he emphasized on him being the guest of Iranians, yeah, based on that statement, I think that he most likely means that the retaliation comes from the Iranian borders, within the Iranian borders.
I'm not from one of the proxies. All right, that's your assessment. But thank you so much for joining us and giving us that perspective from Iran. We will, of course, connect with you soon again, depending on what happens. But the situation in the Middle East clearly becoming even more dangerous after this hit on the Hamas boss by Israel on Iranian soil. Thank you, viewers, for watching this broadcast. We will come back to you with more. Stay tuned to the Times of India.